Welcome. Have you ever noticed how one small thought can ruin our entire day? We wake up hopeful and then suddenly a thought slips in. We're behind, we're not doing enough, we're failing, and before long our minds are running wild with worry, fear, and discouragement. But here's the truth most of us never realize. Our thoughts can either build our faith or quietly sabotage our confidence. So today on I Have Your Back, we'll talk about 8 practical ways to renew our minds. Because when our thinking changes, everything else begins to change too. This is Your Mind is a Battlefield and 8 Ways to Win the War. Let's get started. Welcome. We've all heard the term renewing your mind, but what exactly does that word mean? The word renewing refers to a process of changing the way we think. Scripture says it's not just a positive attitude thing, it's a spiritual transformation that begins in our mind and shows up in our lives in the way we live, the things we say, and how we react. Sometimes our thinking can develop around fear or insecurity, comparisons with others, worry, bitterness, hurt, and maybe believing lies about ourselves. So, how can we tell if our minds are not renewed? We replay problems all day long. You know, that loop that happens in our brains. We will go over and over and over them. Or we rehearse mistakes, worries, worst case scenarios, and conversations that upset us. And heaven help the woman who has had a text conversation because it's there to read over and over and over. It was so much easier when I was younger. There was no texting that ever happened. And you could face to face have a conversation with someone. People more easily say cruel or thoughtless things through text and email because it gives them this sense of anonymity. And as they are not looking at somebody in their face, it makes them feel like they can say whatever they want to say. There's no feedback visually. So perhaps hard conversations should stay face to face. Without a renewed mind, our identity can be tied to what others think. Maybe past mistakes we made, current struggles, peer pressure, and finding ourselves less than others. Or we're mentally exhausted. We've forgotten how to use the off switch in our brain. The good news is that renewing our minds is a process. We don't have to get it perfect the first time. We all learn in layers, kind of like an onion. We learn one layer at a time and peel it off, and then there's another layer and another layer. In Romans 12:2, it says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." And that word transform signifies a gradual change. So renewing our minds means learning to guide our thoughts instead of allowing them to control us. In Philippians 4:8, it reminds us whatever is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, think about such things. So when I read something like that, I think, so how do we do it? In our super busy lives, I've researched this and I've found 8 ways to build a mind makeover. Number 1, intentionally focusing on things that strengthen our faith instead of feeding anxiety. Simply put, not believing everything we think. Make our thoughts answer for themselves. This is why we need to journal. You know, I say this all the time to people, and 1 or 2 out of 10 will actually do it. But I've found that when we write down our fears, our concerns, our thoughts, even our praises, they have a way of dissolving into reasonable events that we can manage. When they're locked inside our heads, they can be like kindling, and our emotions act like gasoline on them. And then it takes one small match to light the fire larger than it needs to be. If our praises are down there, then we can see how God worked through some of those difficulties that we're involved in. And it serves as like a diary to tell us it's all going to be okay the next time too. Number 2, we need to be intentional about what we bring into our minds. Maybe stop scrolling on our phones, limit screen time, and get meticulous about TV shows, the news, the media. Get rid of toxic content. This is a harder one, but I've been working really hard at trying to put away things that just don't bring a positive influence into my life. When I pretend I have a 4 or 5-year-old sitting next to me, I'm much more aware of what it is I'm actually watching. And I'm surprised at what I allow when there are innocent ears and eyes around me. So let's just be much more aware and diligent. Number 3, limit or eliminate things that drain us. That may be activities we're involved in, people we know. You can fill in the blanks. This one's tough because we may be capable of doing a lot of things, or we like the people we're involved with. But just because we can doesn't mean we should. It's a hard one for me because I feel like I have a lot of skills and a lot of interests, and I can get myself over committed in too many places. But I need to be careful about doing those kinds of things. Number 4, declutter our spaces. Decluttering our spaces, even minor changes, can quiet the room and create mental clarity. I'm amazed at how calm I feel when I declutter a space I'm using. Last week, for instance, I took the refrigerator apart. I don't mean literally apart, but cleaned everything out, took everything out of the inside of it. I cleaned every nook and cranny, and I threw out expired containers and got rid of foods we really don't eat that have been sitting in there collecting mold. I've noticed now that every time I open the fridge, I feel calm. So I carried this through to my office. I'm very visual, so I have piles. And I'm piles I'm going to get to. I know what all the piles are, and I know I'm going to get to it eventually. But I also discovered I have lots of duplicates, and I couldn't figure out why I didn't want to be in my office sometimes. Once I moved everything off my desk and I put back only what was vital to keep, it sparked a surge of energy in me at the end of the task. This week I actually heard on a talk show that a minimalist said most people don't wear 82% of their clothes in their closets. I laughed. I kind of balked at the number, but in truth, when I went through my closet and turned the hangers around on items I don't wear except maybe once a year, or items that still have price tags on them, I was pretty close to 80% of unused clothing. I'm a little bit embarrassed by that. So I'm going to be much more aware. I know I'm not alone in this, so being more present, engaged, or aware of our purchases will help to declutter. So for me, it's detaching my credit card from my Amazon account or my clothing accounts. It's just too easy. Instead, if I have to have something delivered, I need to type my numbers in of my credit card every single time. This way I slow down the process and consider it longer, and I practice better stewardship. The other thing I've committed to doing is putting it in the cart, but agreeing that I will not buy it for 24 hours. And that has made a big difference because 24 hours later I look at it and think, what was I thinking? I don't need this. All right. Find something that works for you. Number 5, on the opposite side of decluttering, add things that inspire you, like art, quotes, memories, etc. For most of us, that means we'll need to declutter before we can add inspiration. Number 6, set up thought boundaries. I think this one's kind of unique. It sounds strange, but it probably helps the most. We're going to set up 7 rules to train our thoughts to renew. And here they are. Number 1, when we have conversations with others that are difficult, the rule is this: no repeating the conversations in our minds after 10 minutes. We can stew about it, but we're going to do the best we can in that moment, and then we're going to let it go. I hear crickets out there. We can do this. Number 2, when negative thoughts play in a loop, we're going to interrupt them by quoting scripture verses we've memorized or singing songs that inspire us. Turn on the radio, sing, and dance around the room or in our cars, but interrupt the loop that's happening. Number 3, when we feel anxious, we're going to do a physical task. Take a walk, scrub the floor, knead bread, vacuum, or go for a run, or turn on that radio and dance. You'll be surprised at the kids and the animals that will be watching you going, what's going on with her? But then they'll join in. Next, when negative thoughts convince us to believe them, we're going to repeat aloud, I've managed tough things before. This will be no different. I can do it again. I use this one all the time because I will start to get anxious about something and think, no, no, no. I've handled harder things than this. I can do it. And then I move on to the solution rather than sitting there stewing in the, oh no, oh no. Next, do something out of our comfort zone. It'll force us to focus on what we're doing instead of listening to the negative inside of us. Next is pay attention to the negative self-talk and learn to talk to ourselves the way we would someone we respect and care about. Why would we speak poorly to ourselves? We wouldn't do that to somebody else. So we need to be better at that. Then feed our minds daily with the truth. Listen to positive, grounded podcasts. Read our Bibles with purpose, looking for a promise, and remember that renewal isn't a one-time thing. We have to practice it daily. If you're looking for a good podcast, you can come look for mine. I'd love to have you come in here weekly. All right, let's go back to our other list. Number 7, you need to spend time in silence. We need to allow Christ to actually share hope and direction with us. I was recently at a resort and a spa for 3 days, complimentary thanks to my sister and my brother-in-law. I turned the sound off my phone and I laid it face down in the room, and I didn't pick it up until checkout time 3 days later. Previously, I hadn't thought my phone was that attached to me, but at the end of 3 days, I was amazed at the difference in my calm, my renewed mind, and the increase in my ability to listen. And God met me with the clarity for my life and the future plans I was to embrace, as well as the ones I needed to eliminate. So silence isn't empty. It's about giving our minds time to rest, to clarify, to reset, to process, and realign. I walked away fully refreshed, knowing exactly what I needed to do when I got home. And it did include getting rid of some things in my life and adding some things. Number 8, last one, take every thought captive. In 2 Corinthians 10:5, it says, we have captive every thought and we take captive thought and make it obedient to Christ. We need to stop allowing our emotions to control our decisions. Feelings are signals. That's all they are. They're not the leaders in the process for us. They need to be considered, but are not allowed to run the show. I heard this before, and I can't remember where or who said it. Not every thought deserves a seat at the table of your mind. Some thoughts need to be shown the door. Renewing our minds is not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice of choosing truth over lies, faith over fear, and hope over discouragement. It's about catching negative thinking early and turning it into something positive. So as we wrap up today, remember this. Renewing your mind is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming intentional. Every day we will have thousands of thoughts pass through our minds. Some will build our faith, and some will quietly try to tear us down. We need to usher out the destructive ones. God invites us to renew our minds, to replace fear with truth, worry with trust, and confusion with clarity. And the beautiful thing is, this transformation happens one thought at a time, one truth at a time, one day at a time. So today, I want to leave you with one simple challenge. God can't renew a mind we won't surrender. So the next time a discouraging thought enters your mind, pause and ask yourself, is this what God says about me? Is this lovely, kind? Does it move me closer to being all I am created to be? If the answer is no, let it go and replace it with truth. Because when we renew our minds, we begin to see our lives differently. We make wiser decisions, we walk with greater confidence, and we live with the peace God intended for us. For some of us, these ideas are like drinking water from a fire hose. So start with one idea and then move on to the next. I want to thank you for spending time with me today. If you found value in today's topic, pass it on to a friend. And check out our website. There's a study sheet that goes along with this topic from today. It's ihaveyourback.com. And remember, there's dashes between each word. So it's I-have-your-back.com. I'm Pamela J. Vincent, and here at I Have Your Back, we are committed to building stronger lives, stronger families, and financial futures, one confident step at a time. So until next time, remember, when we shine, we illuminate the way for others.